From a technical ability perspective, in terms of your core competency, I'm hearing more and more advisors say that they've got clients that are starting to talk about things that they didn't talk about, talking about alternative investments, talking about crypto and blockchain, talking about precious metals. And I'm sure they're obviously sourcing that information. Somebody's planting those seeds. Either they're finding it themselves or they're having conversations on the golf course where people are bringing things up. The writing's on the wall for a financial advisor. Why is this so important to be mindful of and to get out in front of?
Yeah, it's clients are becoming more sophisticated and they turn to us as their professional, as their advisor for the advice and guidance. Some just need to understand what cryptocurrency is or the difference between private investments in the alternative space. And so that's where first and foremost, being a good resource, a good person to turn to is the start. And then of course, you've got clients that are more sophisticated. They've been in angel investments or private equity or other things. And they're looking again, still for guidance on, does this fit my family's financial life, my financial plan? And so one, being knowledgeable about what's out there is key. Always being up to speed on where the latest trends or the latest investment opportunities are is critical for what I do. And so what I ultimately want to be is a good sounding board for clients on all of their interests. But yeah, I would agree. It's been a good evolution, especially with our clients, is that we almost are growing together, if you will, right? And staying ahead of the curve is critical.
Well, and again, you've always been completely bought into the notion of stewardship and transparency. And I've told this story before, but I was reminded of it recently. A financial advisor had gone through this exercise of reframing some of his best relationships, basically reintroducing himself and rejuvenating how they perceived and described and how they felt. And it just started with, let's counter loyalty fatigue. Let's really amp up our fee worthiness, and let's make it easy for clients to describe you to others. Okay, so that was the whole motivation. And he had gone through that. And he talked to a really substantial long-term client about his sounding board process. And sure enough, the client introduced a friend. And the friend, when he met the advisor for the first time, confided and said, I'm a little bit unsettled with my current advisor because my dad passed away and he had a substantial legacy and net worth. And turns out he had this huge collection of precious metals. And my advisor told me to sell it. And I can't get my head around that. So what are your thoughts? And this, a prospective client springing this on an advisor in the first 5 minutes. And the advisor's like, wow, I'm sorry for your loss. And I hear where you're coming from. And I don't know you, but I think if that's me, that's my dad. And that's something that was important to him. I'm a custodian for that. I'm not selling that. I'm going to keep that. I'll probably distribute it to family members and honor his legacy. And he said he could literally see the eyes and the body language change immediately. And long story short, the prospective client said to the advisor, why wouldn't my advisor tell me that? Why was he so adamant about liquidating and investing? And our advisor just said, well, respectfully, I don't know him, but ultimately at the end of the day, he doesn't get paid to give that type of advice. I'm a fiduciary and our planning process is panoramic and all-encompassing. It takes into consideration a client's investments that are outside of what we manage because we want them to have the complete picture. Long story short, Chris, that's a client today, a substantial client. And the feedback back to the Rainmaker was like the Rainmaker, the original client who made the introduction, talked to the advisor later saying, hey, whatever you said, whatever you did, my friend is completely lit up. It's just so impressive, which obviously makes the advisor more referable in his eyes. So just being completely fee worthy, completely driven by stewardship. And I know you walk that talk daily.